HRA
This
EDA.
conference will now be recorded.
Stephanie Ryan with the Renville County HRA EDA here.
This is Pat Dingles, HRA EDA staff.
Hi, Chad. Shane Woolman, City of Renville, Administrator.
Hi, Shane.
Jeanette Wordish, Mayor of Renville.
Sandy Hausman, Renville County EDA HRA.
And I heard Wendy on from the city of Franklin a minute or so ago.
Yeah, I'm here. I just didn't know when it was my turn because I can't see anything.
Oh, good. Anybody else joining us that we missed? All right. Well, if somebody joins us, feel free to chime in. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Chad. He is the what's your executive director? Is that your official title, Chad?
Yeah, actually the CEO. We changed our title from executive director to CEO about 10 years ago.
Very cool. So with that, Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership covers all of Renville County and has been a partner of ours as we start ramping up for our housing study project, and thought it might be a nice fit to have the partnership join us here today, talk about what they do, how they might be able to help us once we get this housing study enrolled. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Chad. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. And there's a slide presentation. I think some of you are probably able to see that. Certainly we'll try to speak as well too for those of you who are just on phone, so I'm not discussing like too many images or anything. But thanks, Jordan, for allowing me to connect with your group. I was really looking forward to joining you in person. Obviously, I think we're all working in different conditions right now, but appreciate the opportunity to just talk about a little bit about who we are, what we do, where we can be, some potential resources, and certainly understanding I've connected with a few of you in the past, so I'll try to keep things very high level, and also want to make sure that I answer any questions that you may have. If you have a question while we're going through the presentation, maybe just reach out to Jordan or the who's maybe controlling the slide presentation here. So next slide, we'll go to the first slide here. So who are we? We're essentially a nonprofit community development corporation. We are a 501c3. We primarily serve communities in Southwest and South Central Minnesota. We've got an image here coming up that kind of shows the geographic area that we serve. Just quickly on our mission, we create thriving places to live, grow, and work through partnerships with communities. I should really emphasize that we really try to work with communities and try to do some problem solving for them based on their unique needs. There's typically not a one-size solution for a lot of communities, housing or community development needs for that part. So we try to tailor our services to some degree to meet your specific community needs. We again provide some quality housing and community development services throughout the region, have been doing that for about 30 years. And again, just try to identify and respond to your community needs. So next slide. A little bit more background again. We've been around since about 1992. We've developed, financed, or rehabbed over 9,700 units, worth now probably getting closer to $800 million of investments. And that's over about 7,100 new and existing homeowners. Our customers, again, primarily local governments, EDAs, other nonprofits, but also do a lot of coaching and mentoring directly with individuals or families or groups in particular communities. We've got now about 20 full-time equivalent staff and about a 13-member board of directors. And certainly want to kind of provide a shout out there as well too. Right now, we've got 9 active board members, and we're going through some term limits. So if you have other individuals, community leaders, or somebody who might be a good fit to serve on our board based off of hearing this presentation, feel welcome to reach out to me. We do a lot of really unique and creative things in the South Central and Southwestern parts of the state. So just kind of want to put that plug out there a little bit. Next slide. So this again kind of shows the geographic area of where we've traditionally served, mostly in South Central and Western Minnesota. We have done a little bit of work in Southeast Minnesota, mostly based on unique projects. We've, for example, acquired some portfolio deals of owners who have experienced like tax credit expirings, and where those affordable housing projects might turn into market rate. We've come in and worked with Minnesota Housing, USDA Rural Development to acquire those apartment projects and preserve those long term as affordable housing. And oftentimes that comes through an owner who owns multiple projects. And that's part of the reason why we own a project way up in Cloquet, Minnesota, which is not typically our service area, but we did acquire a property through that mechanism. Next slide. So market trends, again, a little bit of a repeat here, but we're always trying to be very creative and unique in how we approach things. That's one of the things that really kind of stands us apart as a nonprofit, is that we again try to tailor towards emerging markets. We've been hearing a lot about workforce housing needs and been looking at various different products and approaches to help communities build workforce housing. That's primarily been in the apartment side of things. We have built a lot of single family homes throughout our history and continue to do that as well too. I've got a passion, we've got others in the organization, we've got a passion for preserving and sustaining communities downtown, our historic downtowns. We know that in rural and greater Minnesota, a lot of those buildings are aging and are becoming challenged in terms of trying to preserve. So we have a mission of trying to preserve those for our local rural communities in greater Minnesota. Creative placemaking, we've actually been engaged here for the last 3 years through a large grant that we received to utilize the arts as best we can to not only incorporate that as part of some of our projects, but more so through, I would say, creative community engagement, whether that's for a specific project or for a broader community need. We found through some of those grant and artistic related activities that you get more engagement and you have more families and participation in what your specific need might be in a community. So we've utilized creative placemaking and some of the background we've had there to advance some of the work in our communities. Obviously, we incorporate a lot of homelessness units in a lot of the multifamily developments that we own and manage. And obviously just trying to preserve financial stability for families as well too. And with the current situation that we're in right now with the pandemic, there's a lot of different conversations and opportunities out there for our organization to step in and serve as some type of an intermediary or a coach to kind of help lead organizations or make connections or actually serve a program that might be funded or derived from the federal stimulus package or from the state. We've done that traditionally with like emergency declarations and such, disaster areas throughout our history. And it's really just kind of evolving right now as to what our role might be with preserving renters and tenants and such with this pandemic. I'll pause there just for a quick moment to see if anybody has any immediate questions before we continue on with the presentation. All right, seeing none, let's move on. Next slide. So services and product, we do community planning, technical assistance. We provide a lot of home ownership, counseling, assistance, and coaching programs. Again, with the creative placemaking and other routes, we do community building and engagement. We've done a lot of land development, subdivision development, and redevelopment over the years, including some historic buildings downtown. Olivia would be a great example of one of our signature projects where we've done that. Housing preservation and rehab, again, we acquire a lot of old apartments primarily to try to continue serving those with affordability rather than market rate units. We've done single family housing developments. We build single family homes one at a time on particularly as it relates to smaller communities, or we might come in and either partner with the community to build single family homes or duplexes, whether those are for ownership or potentially for rental. multifamily housing projects we've done on a grand scale, anywhere from, you know, a fourplex up to, I think our largest project is about 60 units. And we continue to work with like the tax credit applications through the state of Minnesota on some of those larger developments as well too. We do also provide some housing assessments for commercial buildings, for example, or old school buildings, in terms of feasibility for maybe converting some of those into a different product in the future. We do have some certified building officials to help fill some gaps in, you know, whether it's smaller communities or if there's a vacancy in your building official, we can come in and temporarily provide those services, or even on a longer term contract if we need to. And with the support of housing services, with a lot of the units that we own with disability, with mental health, we've got a project in St. Peter where we've got a lot of families or individuals who've gone through the court system, and we're trying to provide them with a stable place to live and providing supportive services right on site. And so we work with a lot of regional providers as well too, and trying to make those connections to make sure that families are thriving throughout our region. Next slide. That just provides a little bit more detail on community planning. I'm not going to go through all these bullet points, but want this here to have as your resource, and just want to show kind of an illustration there of a project that we did there in Worthington, Minnesota, Grand Terrace Apartments. But we go, one of the things that we really kind of stand out for is we are a developer from the beginning of the process, working with the community, oftentimes all the way through owning that asset and managing that asset. And we typically contract out our property management services with groups such as Lloyd Management Services that does a lot of our portfolio. But we've got a lot of resources to either break that up or just be all inclusive with a particular project. Next slide. Home ownership services, again, doing a lot of counseling, whether that's foreclosure, home buyer education, mortgage counseling. We have these throughout the Southwest region. We go to various different communities. We're doing this in the Mankato area as well too. And just showing some statistics there of the different results and the impact that we've had on the region. Next slide. Again, community building and engagement, just some more bullet points and some examples of what we've done here, some of the results. I should also note that one of the things that we've been doing more in, I would say, the greater Minnesota area is trying to connect employers with housing solutions. Oftentimes we hear that employers are not able to attract or retain workforce because there's not enough housing in their community. So oftentimes they may want to play a role in being part of some of those housing solutions, and we can serve in that capacity as somewhat of a, again, more of an intermediary between a community and that particular business on trying to find potentially some creative solutions. Next slide. Downtown redevelopment, that's a building in Olivia that I'd referenced before. Again, that's more of an adaptive reuse with commercial and residential in it. And we continue to work with various different government programs to try to find which one of those programs might be the best fit for a project. And oftentimes it's historic tax credits, maybe coupled with some tax increment financing or tax abatement at the local level. But every deal is structured just a little bit differently based on what tools and preferences a local community might have. Next slide. Green and healthy housing is really a strong part of our mission in terms of trying to make green sustainable housing, both in our rehabilitation projects and a lot of our new units as well too. Some of that's required from some other government programs, but we typically exceed the requirements because it helps bring down the operating costs for whether we're an owner or somebody else is an owner long term, and it has really worked quite well with us. So we've got a lot of connections with a lot of the agencies and entities and programs to make projects more green and sustainable. Next slide. Affordable housing preservation, I've talked about that. Just wanted to show a couple of images here of what we've done, and we also are able to obtain federal rental support for a lot of the residents, but primarily just trying to provide a safe and stable product for housing or for families throughout the community. And again, as noted before, we're really trying to preserve those buildings and structures as affordable rather than turning into market rate apartments in the future. Even though we would consider workforce housing and market rate projects, we've typically worked historically on affordable housing. Next slide. Single family housing development, again, whether we do that on a mass large scale or whether we do that on a per unit basis, we're willing to have a conversation with you on different products that we've got designed and how those might fit in your particular community. Next slide. Here's just some pictures of some different examples of designs that we've got put together, whether that's a slab on grade, which has become more and more popular with maybe a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom unit for a lot of different segments of the population. Also some split level projects there, just to show some different design examples. Next slide. I've already kind of talked a little bit about the employer community partnerships. So I'll pass on this one. Let's move on to the next slide. Same thing with multifamily housing development. This image here, if you can see, it shows Sibley Park Apartments in Mankato, one of our larger projects. And just to try to emphasize as well too, the different type of financing programs for some of these projects oftentimes can reach into double digits, whether that's 10 to 15 different sources of funds, whether that's bonds, tax credits, other investors, grants, TIF, deferred loan programs and such. We've got some expertise in being able to do that. And we worked in 58 communities to develop over about 1,800 units in our history. Next slide. Just some different images of the different type of projects. You know, multifamily housing is just not large complexes of 30 units or more. Sometimes it's a 3-plex, a 4-plex, duplexes. So I just want to provide some imagery there of different type of products we've done in different communities. Next slide. This is more some images of some of the creative placemaking that we've done in a variety of different communities throughout Southwest and South Central Minnesota, and the large participation that we've had to help solve community development or community housing need issues. Next slide. Again, just a little bit more detail about some of our assessments and inspection programs. I can't remember, yes, we do. Under the bullet points down below, one of the newer state code requirements for a new house, if you weren't aware of it, is every new house is supposed to have a blower door test, which basically gets to the airflow and efficiency of the windows, how they're installed. We can come in and do that for a fee-for-service program, make sure it meets the expectations that were intended by the state code. I don't believe a lot of cities have enforced this, but certainly want to point it out that we are here and available for that type of work if you're interested in the future. We do that primarily just on the residential side, not the commercial, large commercial buildings. But this outline here provides other things that we do with just needs assessments of buildings, energy rating systems assessments, radon inspections, and other scopes of work that you might need for a particular unique project in your community. Next slide. Special needs housing, I've talked about that a little bit already in terms of the variety of different demographics and needs throughout the region that we help work with and just create connections with. Next slide. Again, a little bit more of a duplication here of supportive housing, but just wanted to illustrate the various different projects that we've worked with and some imagery there, some projects that we've worked with, and some statistics and some examples of what we've done there for future reference. Next slide. This is a unique project in St. Peter that we actually worked with the county and the city and the court system actually drove this project. Essentially, they were finding a lot of repeat individuals coming back through the court system, whether that was for drug violations or other needs. But they really felt compelled to try to solve that. And they found that safe and affordable, stable housing was a way that was going to reduce the amount of essentially recidivism through the court system. And we're starting to document a lot of that data. The building's been open now for about 1.5 years, and we're seeing great success with those families living at Solid for, I would say, about on average about 1 year. They can live there as long as they want, but essentially they choose to move on. But we provide on-site services there as well too, and It's been really a very popular project that's been looked at being replicated around the nation as well too. Next slide. This again just shows some more diversity of housing that we've done in the St. Peter area with some row housing development, which has been a very popular model as well too, and just how we've packaged some of those projects being put together. And last slide. And that's just some of our contact information, and feel welcome to reach out to me via email if you ever want to have a virtual conversation or just a phone call, just to learn a little bit more about the partnership or how we might be able to help. So I'll stop there and pause for any questions. And again, thanks for the opportunity.
Hey, Chad, this is Jordan. Quick question. So we're working on our housing study. You know, we were hoping to have that out early June. When that's going to be done, it's kind of anybody's guess. I'm going to be working with Matt tomorrow talking about some of that kind of stuff. So when this housing study unrolls, it's going to show, you know, you're the city of X and there's a demand for so much of this kind of housing and so much of that. How do they engage you and kind of see what kind of resources you could bring to the table? Give you a call, come out and meet with the city council kind of thing, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Can start at the staff level as well too, just via a phone conversation or myself coming out to the HRA, the EDA, the city council, just to have a casual conversation to start out with. No obligation for any commitments. I think, you know, part of our mission is to provide some education as well too on what some of the opportunities you might have are. Even if you don't work with the partnership, I'm willing to come out and have that conversation to talk about all the different opportunities you might have. You know, we can talk more about a more formal effort or a housing plan that you might want to create. And I think one of the things I mentioned to you, Jordan, you know, with the housing study when it's complete, I think there could be an opportunity based on what the housing study shows for developers such as us to come out and do multiple projects at one time, knowing that one particular community might not need 10 houses built at one time, but maybe there's 4 or 5 communities in the county that all need a couple of duplexes. We'd be willing to come out and try to pull that together for the entire community, because there is a scale component of this with us managing those properties that we need some a large enough number of units to make it cash flow for a developer. But certainly there's opportunities for EDAs and HRAs to own and operate those as well too. But that's something for future consideration that we're already looking at and waiting until your housing study is complete to look at it a little bit further.
Excellent. Well, we're gonna be holding a kickoff meeting once this housing study's in, and we kind of want to get all the relevant partners like yourself in there. So stand by for that. As soon as that's done, we'll let you know, and love to have you at that meeting, and, you know, get you up in front of some folks and make some introductions and that kind of stuff. So awesome.
Perfect.
Any other questions for Chad? Well, if it's okay with you, Chad, when we're done here, we're videotaping this recording. So what we'll do is we'll load that thing on YouTube. We'll email a link out, and if it's okay with your presentations from today, let those who couldn't make it take a look at that. We'll have your contact info. So if you've got questions or something, you know, comes up in the next few weeks, rather than go through me, just go straight to you, if that's cool.
No, I agree. Yeah, reach out anytime, whether it's the next few weeks or several months from now or years from now, for that matter.
Awesome.
Thank you again.
Yep. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks to Luke. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And thanks to Chad and the folks at the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership for that. We really appreciate that. Kind of playing off that, I did mention we are working with Maxfield Research on our housing study. And the COVID-19 situation has kind of pushed things back a little bit. I actually have a telephone conference with Matt Mullins, our consultant, tomorrow. And for those of you that were at our kickoff meeting here, a little over a month and a half ago, they're looking at trying to figure out how to break the county up into smaller chunks, knowing that what happens in Sacred Heart affects Renville and what happens in Danube affects Olivia. So knowing that we're all in kind of our small little microcosms of housing, folks wanting to stay as close as they can to home when they look for different housing. So we'll be getting you up to date on that as well. So any questions on that? All right, hearing none. Want to talk to you a little bit about the COVID-19 response, what's going on when it comes to businesses. Just so you folks know, and I think everybody pretty much knows, we have created a emergency business loan program, our HRA EDA board, when they met about 3 weeks ago, plus or minus. So they've created a fund, they've capitalized that. The maximum loan, $2,500, 0% interest, no payments till January of 2021. After that, it's $100 a month. So we have closed on, I believe, 16 loans to date. We've got 2 more that we're scheduling closings. We've got 2 more in the application, getting the check cut process. So I'm expecting we'll close those 4 later this week. So we're getting close to out of funds on that. So know that if you are interested, please contact us ASAP on that. And if you are on our website, renville.com, the application is there, and happy to chat with anybody who's interested in applying to walk them through and just kind of help them out as best we can on that. Also, while we're on the topic of our website, if you happen to be online, it is renville.com. And off to the left, there's kind of a blue-gray box. It says for businesses. When you hover your mouse over that, the first thing to pop up is something called Coronavirus Loans and Resources. So we have been updating that periodically. We've done a variety of trainings. We did 1 last week, 3 the week before, with our partners from the Southwest Initiative Foundation and the Small Business Development Center, talking about programs from both the state and the federal level. We have recorded one of those trainings, and we're going to be getting that video put on the website for those who are interested. They can, from the comfort of their own home, as I guess everybody's from the comfort of their own home or pretty close to it, but they can watch that training at their convenience. Also, last week, we put together a pandemic business resource directory and have updated that. I did an update to that one actually this morning. Thanks for pulling that up, Steph. Looking at that, the first part is the different SBA programs, and I won't read it word by word, but there's the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. That has some additional details on that. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, we got some new clarification. Yes, it's $10,000, but it's $1,000 per employee up to 10. So if you have 2 employees, you're not getting the full 10. You're getting a number quite a bit smaller than that. The SBA Express Bridge Loan, which is for businesses that currently have SBA programs, working with their existing lender, so $25,000 fairly quickly. The SBA Debt Relief Program, again, providing financial assistance for those. And then the links are there too for more information on that. Down to the next page, the state of Minnesota's got a couple programs. There's Deeds Front Door on the top, but they have their Emergency Business Loan Program. I have heard that they're getting low or almost out of money. I've not heard that the spigot has been shut off yet. Should that happen, we'll delete that so we don't give folks false hope on that one. There's also the Deed Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. And I just pulled that link up on my personal computer here, or my office computer here, working at home. There's several banks in Renville County that are doing that, hovering the mouse over there. I see the Franklin State Bank across, just down the street from Wendy's office. Scott Nissen is doing that. The Sacred Heart Bank, which is part of Citizens Alliance, the mothership's in Clara City, but they're handling that. So Franz is your first door there in Sacred Heart if you're looking at that. I'm trying to see if there's any other banks in the county that are doing that. I'm not seeing any at the moment, but that if you hop on that link and click on Find a Lender, you can take a look. All the banks are alphabetical. I know some banks based outside the county are on there as well. So take a peek at that one as you do that. Links to some other deed resources on there. Unemployment insurance. So from what I'm understanding, state unemployment insurance is worked in 7 days a week. Overtime, going crazy, getting a pretty good response rate. So if businesses or employers are separated and needing to apply for unemployment insurance, they've got it on their website for more details, but what day you apply is based on your social security number so they don't overwhelm the system for that one. And don't worry if you are you're unemployed today but can't push the paperwork until Friday. They'll get you retroactive. It takes a little while for that thing to take force. So you're not going to be out any based on your social security number. Some other state programs, Department of Commerce has a variety of different things. Department of Labor and Industry, Department of Revenue, they are pushing back some of the tax deadlines for sales tax, for personal and business income taxes. Not to get into the specifics, but you can click on that link and find out more. They also have an FAQ on most of these websites and where to email or call for more information should you have a question. Also, it sounds like the state is looking at how do we slowly start ramping up getting some businesses open. So they're looking for feedback from individual businesses on ways that they can preserve safety and social distancing and all that kind of stuff. I was talking with a business yesterday. We're doing some loan closings, and it was a golf course. And they were trying to figure out, well, maybe you can't share a cart. You have to go on your own cart. And when you're on the putting green with your friends, you have to wear a face mask or something along those lines. Ways to safely do this, but still get the businesses open. So that link, feel free to pass that along to any businesses. They're taking feedback. I'm on a call a couple times a week with the state. And they were telling me yesterday morning, I heard that there was like 250, 260 folks that already filled this out, or businesses that had filled it out, providing feedback. So I'm hopeful that before this May 3rd deadline, that we can at least get some businesses open. So we're hoping for the best on that one. Scrolling down just a skosh, one of the last things I'm going to talk about is the Minnesota Small Business Development Center. All their services 100% free of charge. In our Renville County, we're part of the Southwest office, which is based out of Southwest Minnesota State, down in Marshall, and Stephanie's a proud alum of that, so I'm sure she's smiling right now. But yeah, so Southwest State is the office. They have counselors in our area. A lot of this is done over the phone or Skype or FaceTime or something along those lines. It's 100% free of charge. Please pass your businesses along to these folks. You know, basically the first question is, tell me about your business and what kind of trouble are you having? And they'll kind of help you diagnose what resources are out there and how to get connected to them. Again, 100% free of charge on that. So it's a business's best friend talking to those folks. And then finally, our Renville County HRA EDA, more information about what we've got with our emergency bridge loan program, links to that. Also, our standard business resource directory, what's out there, and our contact info. If you have businesses that kind of don't know where to turn, or kind of getting overwhelmed by the alphabet soup of programs, feel free to have them give me a call. I'm happy to chat with them, kind of, like the SBDC. Tell us what's going on, and let's see what we can do to help, kind of thing. So please feel free to download this and email it out to your contacts. But yeah, happy to help promote that and spread the word on that. So that's kind of the latest and greatest on what's going on and what resources are out for that COVID-19. Again, the directories on our website will soon have the video posted up and on our website. And I'll stop here a moment or two for any questions or discussion items that folks want to bring up.
If I could, I would like to say, Jordan, I just want to first off thank you and Stephanie for putting the trainings together and the loan directory and stuff. That has been a lot of help and saved us a lot of time on the administrative side, having to gather all that information and put it all on one sheet. So I just wanted to first off thank both of you guys for doing that and putting it together.
We're happy to help. We're happy to help. I should mention too, tentatively thinking probably next week we're going to do another training. Right now, there's really no new programs that have been unveiled in the past week and a half or so. It's basically all these federal programs coming out, and folks are just trying to, it's like drinking from a fire hose, the federal and the state staff trying to figure out how to implement this and get the technology backbone going for that. So as having a little patience, and I know it's tough to have patience at a time like this to get those programs out. And once we see how they're working, we'll figure out what's out there and probably do another training as more clarification comes down. I know I was emailing with our HRA EDA board chair, Jeanette Werdish, who's on the line today, and we were talking, you know, when our board meets a week from Thursday, we're going to have a better feel of really what's working and what's not and what's happening. So our board will be discussing, you know, what kind of resources are out there to help and to figure out, you know, should we be doing trainings daily or what should we be doing, you know, what kind of things out there. So just know that we're trying to keep a eye on it, on the pulse of the situation, and we're just going to have to play this by ear. So is that a good way of saying it, Madam Chair? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. The other thing that we talked about too, Jordan, was do we want to open up for more funding if we get more applications? And that's something we'll take a look at or at least talk about.
Exactly. Yeah, see where we're sitting. So if we would run out of funds, we're going to keep a file of those that are applying. We'll let them know that right now we're out of funds, but I guess the easiest way to say this is we're going to have to play it by ear and see what we come up with. So thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other thoughts on kind of the emergency COVID-19 coronavirus business programs and resources? And if something pops up, don't hesitate to call or drop me an email. Happy to work with you on that. Next thing I want to chat just a few moments about is our Business Innovation Grant and Community Impact Fund grants through the HRA EDA. So our deadline was, I believe, last Friday, Good Friday, the 10th for that. So we've received some applications. Stephanie and I will be sitting down later this week to start pouring through those and doing some scoring, and we'll be sending that to our full HRA EDA board, of which Jeanette and Sandy sit on at their meeting next Thursday for final blessing or final awarding, I guess I should say, on that. So I will give a reminder to everybody, we are changing the deadline for the next round and going forward just very slightly. We have been doing it the 10th of each month, or the 10th of the month when we do these. The big grants are done quarterly. The community impact funds are done semi-annually. We're moving from the 10th on both of those to the 1st of the month. That'll give us a little bit more staff time to process the applications. Dollar figures remain the same. All the normal stuff, it just gives us a little more time to push the paperwork. So know that our next deadline will be July 1st for the Business Innovation Grant and October 1st for the big Business Innovation Grant and the Community Impact Fund grants. And the SIF grants are for local units of government, and Business Innovation grants, again, for businesses. Any questions or thoughts on that? All right. Hearing none, we'd like to talk about our next meeting date and what we would like for topics to be covered. If we continue on our same path, which is meeting quarterly on the second Tuesday, if my math is right, that would be July 14th. And hopefully all this coronavirus stuff is a memory by that time. But does that date work for everybody? And if so, we'll aim to do it in person. And if that doesn't work, I guess we'll do it online, but or maybe we do both, you know, for folks that are coming from a distance, wherever we hold our meeting, can always participate online. Is that a fair way of doing it?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Anybody have a conflict with July 14th?
Nope, looks like it works for me, Jordan.
Excellent. Well, let's pencil that in on the table, or pencil that in on the calendar for July 14th. We were planning on holding this one in Danube. Maybe we'll do the same, aim for Danube, and if that doesn't work, we'll do it online and probably end up doing it both places, even if things are good, if that's fair to everybody. Any topics that we want to talk about? Speakers, themes. How to give yourself a home haircut and still look good? I don't know.
Jordan, I'm sure you'll have some more information on the housing study by then too.
Yes, ma'am. Good point.
I'm thinking that you may at that point, and hopefully at that point, we're trying to figure out how to help our small businesses recover from COVID, and maybe there's some ideas or good things that'll come out of that.
Excellent. Good point.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Wendy. That's exactly what I was going to say too. I don't know if there's anything that maybe geared towards that we could talk about at that time to try to maybe help ramp up our businesses at that time and stuff. So
sounds good to me. And if anybody comes up with anything else, again, y'all have my email and phone number. Feel free to give me a call or send me an email. And we'll probably push this back a month or so before we start getting serious about finding speakers anyway, just to play things by ear and see what's really going on with the pandemic. So cool. Well, that is the meat and potatoes of the meeting. If it's okay with everybody, if you got a few minutes, maybe just kind of do a roundtable. What's going on in your town? What you're hearing from your businesses? You know, when we do our loan closings, I've kind of been asking folks, what are you hearing? How's business? You know, what's keeping you up at night? You know, maybe I'll just kind of start. You know, I'm hearing from a lot of businesses that, you know, things are slowly starting to get tight for them. You know, they had some cash on hand. They were able to react quickly. You know, unfortunately, you know, if they had to lay off a few employees or whatnot, as the pandemic hits and they kind of, you know, adjust their business model. But a lot of folks kind of nervous that if this continues for, you know, a couple more months, things are really going to get rough. That's kind of what I'm hearing. But maybe we'll start over with Shane over in Renville. What are you hearing, Shane, talking to folks?
no, I'd probably echo exactly what you said there, Jordan, that you know, things, they probably started off pretty well, but money is getting to be a little bit tight now. One thing I have noticed is the citizens have been very supportive of the local businesses that way. I know Bart's restaurant, they're you know, have some daily specials and stuff, and it seems like their business is doing very good there. The grocery store, they've done a little adapting there with some plexiglass and masks and gloves now and stuff. But when I look out my window here, it always seems like it's full of cars over there and stuff. So I think they're doing well too. Our other restaurant in town here, the Main Street Bar and Grill, they're going through a little remodeling right now. They decided to do that at this time, so which was probably a good move to have it done now. But they still have the off sale portion of that open, and there again, I think they're kind of holding their own on that right now too. So, but yeah, overall, I think everybody's doing decent. Same with the other businesses. I haven't really heard too much negative right now anyway, so that's good.
Gotcha. Madam Chair, anything else to add from the great city of Renville?
Well, I'm going to need a haircut soon, but I don't know if I want to do the thing that you did.
You know, I'm happy to drop that off, you know, if you want.
Some of these beauty shops and barber shops opened up because, yeah, some of these places really could be open on a limited basis. So I'm really pushing for whatever it takes to get our economy going. I'm just feeling like a part of a herd of sheep right now, and it doesn't feel good. So that's just my take on it. So, but I haven't been out in public that much to hear anything negative. So.
Gotcha. Sandy, what's going on in Buffalo Lake? Oh, sorry, ma'am.
Well, the grocery store has seen an upbeat in business because of the stay-at-home thing. People aren't traveling to Hutch or wherever to get groceries. They're getting them here in town. Our liquor store is doing well with takeout meals. People are supporting the area restaurants and bars by ordering food. My husband and I are trying to do that a couple times a week. The liquor store is doing some remodeling inside during this time because it is the good time. They're not bothering the customers. So
Gotcha. And Wendy, what's shaking in Franklin?
It's just really quiet. We only have the 2 bar restaurants that are really affected by the COVID, and they're doing takeout and off sale as well. And I'm sure that's definitely not enough to support their business. But otherwise, everything else in town is essential. So it hasn't really affected, I know the general populace, a lot are filed for unemployment and have filed, and I know they're waiting on getting their funds. It's not a easy process. So I've been listening a lot to people, even though I have nothing to do with unemployment. So I think the biggest thing for me is just I've been a sounding board and understand their frustration and try to help any way I can.
Cool. Yeah, this is Jordan. My wife was laid off, so she filed for unemployment. She said the process was a little smoother than she expected. And it sounds like that, I don't remember what the exact number was, but they have a maximum dollar figure per week of what they'll pay for unemployment. And then as part of this CARES Act, it's an additional $600, I believe, until July. So, my wife won't be getting what she made before from the state, but with the federal one, I think she'll be, might even be ahead than what she was making when she was working here. So, but I hear good things that they're fairly quick turnaround and doing good stuff. So we're hoping for the best. So, anything else I missed? Anything? Anybody want to add anything? That's all I've got on the agenda, but I'm open to anything else anybody has to say.
I do have one thing to ask. Is there some kind of, I know you went through that the banks are helping with those programs. Is there any kind of help for them? Because I know they're having trouble implementing or trying to find guidelines and follow through.
I fielded a couple calls. One was from First National down in Fairfax, talking with Ron yesterday down there. They're doing some of these SBA, PPP loans, which are done through the banks. And they were having a dickens of a time. They couldn't get into the system. So I've been referring a lot of those folks, for inquiries on that to the Minnesota Bankers Association. Ron says he had some pretty good luck working through them rather than the SBA getting flooded by 50 calls from Minnesota businesses that the Bankers Association asked those questions. You know what I mean? Kind of amalgamating.
Right. And
oh, go ahead, ma'am.
No, that's good. I'm assuming that they've reached out to them then. I just know that they were saying there wasn't a lot for guidelines, so hopefully MBA is getting them on track.
Yeah, and I think, it's taken time for all these rules to trickle down and basically try to figure out what the rules are based on the legislation. So I think things are firming up a little bit more every day. I know some of the big banks, the Wells Fargos of the world and some of that kind of stuff are doing stuff, but trying to get that trickle down to the small programs. I did see that Scott's name was listed. Scott Nissen, who's actually on our loan committee too, was listed on that list of bankers for the state program. I think it's basically like trying to drink from a fire hose right now. There's a lot of things and trying to decipher out what's the best fit and how do you do it. So we answer questions from bankers too as best we can, but just don't have that technical know-how. And a lot of times we're referring folks down to the Small Business Development Center or over to Minnesota Bankers Association with some of those questions. So.
Very good.
Cool. Anything else? Sorry, I'm making faces. Well, hearing none, thank you so much on behalf of the Renville County HRA EDA for participating in our call today. And if you have any questions, want to talk anything over, do some brainstorming, don't ever hesitate to give me a call. I'm happy to do it. And if there's anything we can do to assist you, let us know. Thanks to Stephanie for running the tech back at the palatial Renville City headquarters of the Stephanie Ryan Company. So we appreciate that. And everybody have a great day, and we'll see you in the funny papers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you.